All right, well, Utah's last holdout counties are now issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples after losing a federal court appeal to halt the issuance of those licenses. The conservative state government is pledged to take its case to the United States Supreme Court. But right now, people can still get married in Utah. Joining us now by phone in New York is MARC SOLOMON. He's the national campaign director from Freedom to Marry. Thank you so much for joining us, MARC.
Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm not in the studio with you.
All right, now we also have Bill Duncan, and he is joining us from Utah. He is the director of the Marriage Law Foundation. Gentlemen, we appreciate your time. I'm going to start with you, MARC, if that's all right. Talk about the importance of this case and what this really means for supporters of same-sex marriage.
Well, first, what it means is that it's been a huge and tremendous thing on the holidays for loving and committed couples in Utah to be able to marry the person they love. So that's been really transformative for all of these families. I think more generally, it shows that even in a state like Utah, which is much more conservative, it's the second most religious state in the country, it's been huge for these same-sex couples and families, and for everyone else, they might not be for it. Many people are, but not everybody is. But, people are pretty much fine with it. Much opposition.
Gotcha. Okay, well, Bill, how about you? Can you talk a little bit about why the case is so important and why it might actually make it over, with the petition to Justice Sotomayor?
Sure. This summer, the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled on a case where the argument was that the federal government could not define marriage as a union of husband and wife, couldn't retain that definition, partially because it was a state issue. And the Supreme Court ruled that they agreed with that. They said that there's the two parts of their opinion. One was that it was the issue of marriage should be decided by the state. And this decision is important because it's the first time that a federal court has said, well, actually, even though the Supreme Court had said this is a state issue to decide, not so much. We don't actually agree with that. We think that we ought to push the states to change their definition of marriage to comply with in this case, one judge's perception of what marriage should be and how he understood marriage. So it's an important test case to see whether or not the federal courts get the ability to veto state marriage laws because they have a different understanding of what marriage is.
All right, Bill, I'm going to switch back to MARC now with the Freedom to Marry group. I mean, we just saw in there some video of, a couple of guys kissing, and I know that there had been some debate over whether or not that was even going to be video that would be shown on some stations in Utah itself. Talk to me a little bit about how this case sort of connects with the equality movement all around America. Talk to me about that. Sure,
and just to respond as well, I would offer a different characterization of the opinion in the DOMA case, which, the DOMA case, there was a very clear line in the DOMA case that said that states, traditionally have set the rules on marriage, but states can't go beneath a certain level of equal protection, and that's why the federal government, or the Supreme Court ruled in 1967 that states couldn't ban interracial marriages, and that's exactly the justification that this judge is relying upon. So I think discrimination is discrimination, and our Constitution protects minority groups from being discriminated against.
All right, MARC, I'm going to throw it back to you now, Bill, again with the Marriage Law Foundation. I mean, what is it with Utah officials right now that are pretty much saying, look, this is our decision. This is not to be dealt with outside of our jurisdiction?
Well, I think the key thing here is that the people of the state of Utah in 2004, two-thirds of voters said, we want to retain the understanding of marriage that has always been the law in the United States, and of course long before that as well. And the question this case raises is pretty directly, do they have the power to do that or not? Is there some kind of something in the Constitution that's never been known before until this year that requires states to change their definition of marriage? And the answer to that, of course, if you look at the Constitution, is no, it absolutely doesn't. There's no mandate that states redefine marriage to make motherless or fatherless homes be treated as the equivalent of a home with a married husband and wife. And I think people are obviously distressed that their fundamental right to self-government could be ignored by the decision of one district court judge.
All right, thank you, Bill Duncan, with the director of the Marriage Law Foundation, and as well MARC SOLOMON, the National Campaign Director for Freedom to Marry. We appreciate your time, and we will continue to monitor the debate. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And this is Arise America.